verse 15. These are the curses, and it's called the tochacha, the rebuke. So Nora, you have it. So one thing to bear in mind about the rebuke, there's a couple of customs here. Noam, you got it? So a person should, first of all, there are some have the custom to leave the room when the curses are read because they don't want to hear them. So you need help, Noam, or you got it? You sure? You're a Milton grad. You should be able to find page 1104. Yeah. Okay. So so people used to leave the room when the curses were being read because they didn't want to hear the curses. I heard a shir from Rav Shachter. He said it's a very bad thing to do. You have to hear the curses. Sometimes you have to hear the rebuke. We don't want to get rebuked today, no, right? We're like afraid, but the Torah puts it out there for a reason. So we have to hear the rebuke. But then there's another custom, which is to read this passage of the Torah quicker and slower than usual. You ever hear that custom? So you ever hear that, Ellie? Yeah. Not quicker and softer, quicker and lower. Yeah, that we do. That we do. But there's a story that's told about that the Klausenberger Rebbe, who his whole family was killed in the Shoah, and he lost his wife and many of his children, and he came to America after the Shoah before moving to Israel and building a very, very, very big Hasidic dynasty in Netanya. Anyway, the Klausenberger Rebbe, when this passage was being read, he went and it was the first Shabbos after he came to America, and the Chazan was reading it, and he stopped the Chazan and he said, "Read it loudly." And the Chazan ignored the Rebbe. He didn't know what the Rebbe meant, so he kept reading it and he stopped doing it loudly. And that's not the custom. The custom is softly and slowly and quickly. So he said loudly. So finally, the Balkori listened and he read it nice and slow and loud, slower than usual, and louder and louder. He kept saying louder, louder. Finally, after the davening, the Klausenberger Rebbe said, "I know that generally speaking, the custom is to read this softer and quicker, but we saw that every single one of these curses came true in the Shoah. Every single one of these curses that Hashem threatened us with came true. So now that all these curses have come true, now we want to read it loudly to say to Hashem, it's time for all the blessings to come true." And the thing is, we often don't have perspective because we're living in the middle of our lives, so we don't have perspective. The Jewish community now is, grab a chumash, boys. Tani and Kobe, grab the chumash. You know where they are, Kobe. Oh, right there. The Jewish community now is, I think, okay, this is what my position is. Tell me if you agree with me, is the strongest we've ever been in history. The strongest we've ever been in history. As an objective, any objective fact, any objective statistic or criteria you use, the Jewish community now is stronger than ever. We never had this many Jews living in Israel. We never had this many people studying Torah. We never had this many Jews accumulate this much wealth. We never had an army like the IDF that is basically humiliated in the last 2 years major armies around the world. And we never had this type of strength in our history. So I think that, objectively, you would have to say that this is like a messianic era. But and so after the Shoah, now we're almost 80 years after the Shoah, or more than 80 years after the Shoah, I could say that this is the strongest the Jewish people have ever been. We don't feel strong because we're fighting anti-Semitism. So do people in America. People in America also, everybody feels vulnerable. But when have Jews never felt vulnerable? There's never been like a time. And so this is everybody has to always feel vulnerable. There's nobody on earth who doesn't. But I'm saying by any objective measure, the Jews now are the strongest we've ever been. We have the most Jews living in Israel ever. I mean, we have the most yeshivas, the most universities. Back when, right after the Shoah, they had like one university in Israel. There was like very small country. Rabbi Yosef grew up there. He was talking this morning about how they didn't have phones. Okay, so now let's read the psukim.
I just want to mention one more thing. You mentioned the Lubavitcher Rebbe. I think it's about the fifth Rebbe, Rav Shalom Ber. When there was one Shabbat that he wasn't there and his son was crying all through the klalot, and they asked him every other Shabbat, every other year when your father's there, you don't cry, and he said because when my father says it, it sounds almost like a blessing, but when this Malgar was.
Okay, very nice. Very nice. Okay. So now very beautiful. I never knew that story and I love it. Well, Vayayim lo tishma b'kol Hashem Elokecha. If you'll not hear the voice of Hashem your God, well, maybe you want to read. Who wants to read the psukim here? Kobe, you want to read?
Sure.
Pasuk Tet chapter 28, verse 15. But I mean, if you want to read Nora, I could call on you also, whatever.
Yeah, actually, I'd rather not.
You'd rather not? Then that's all the more reason now you have to read. Yeah, come on, Kobe, you could do it.
Yeah, I got it. Wait, does it start at
Yeah, you got it.
Lo Tishma b'kol Hashem Elokecha Yishmor V'aso Et Kol Mitzvotav V'Chukotav Asher Anochi Mitzvot Hayom Uvo Alecha Kol HaKolot Ha'elot
Okay, Kobe, you read that beautifully, perfectly. Kobe is a very, very, very good reader. So it says, if you don't listen to the voice of Hashem your God to guard and to do all these commandments that I command you today, and then all of these curses will come upon you and they will overtake you. All the curses will come upon you and they will overtake you. So now, Nora, you want to read the next pasuk? Arura ta.
Aurora Ta?
Yeah, you have that?
Aurora Ta? Be'ir ve'eroi Ata b'shadeh.
You'll be cursed in the city, you'll be cursed in the field. Arur tanacha umishar techa. You'll be cursed with your baskets and your kneading bowls. Arur privin nechal priad matecha. You'll be cursed with your womb and your land. Shigaro afecha v'astrotunecha. The offspring of your cattle and your flocks. Arur tabevoecha. You'll be cursed when you're comings and you're going. Pasuk Chaf. Yishalach Hashem b'cha et ha'me'ira et ha'mehuma et ha'megeret. God will send upon you the me'ira. What's the me'ira? Me'ira is, anybody know? Tani? Me'ira is, Rashi says, a chisaron, a deficiency. God will send upon you a deficiency. What does that mean? What is God sending you? Basically a curse. Mehuma, confusion. Et ha-megeret. What's a megeret? Worry. Whatever you do. Asher ta'aseh adi shametcha v'avadcha meher. Until you'll be destroyed quickly. Because of the evil deeds that you forsook me. Muhuma is shigush, confusion. Kol be'alot, sounds of panic. And it is true that even though this is a time where I said the Jewish people are stronger than ever, it's also simultaneously a time of tremendous dread and worry. The key word for me, what is the key word in this pasuk? What word jumps out at you? What word jumps out at you, Noam? I'm calling on you, Noam.
I don't know.
Because you go to the high school. What's that high school you go to? Whitman, great school. So at least compared to the high school I went to, I don't want to say it, but Whitman is much better. So the key word here is the word that jumps out at me, I mean, everybody has a different word that jumps out at them. The word that jumps out at me is my hair, quickly. That when destruction comes, it comes in a second. The devastation comes in a second. We don't even notice it. That's what I'm not proud of the fact, but I did watch the video of of Charlie Kirk being killed yesterday. And I watched it by accident. I wasn't planning on watching it. And then I saw it. And what's so jarring to me is just the moment between he's alive and dead, where he's just one moment you see this man, he's like on top of the world, he's controlling, the crowd, he's speaking to the crowd, there's like thousands of people there to listen to him, to talk to him completely. And then boom, in a second, it's all gone. All of his family's lives are ruined forever or affected deeply, negatively forever. In just one moment, everything is over. Everything is gone. And, I think about that also, like October 7th, the world will never be the same. Everybody woke up that morning, nobody noticed any difference. And then boom, in 1 second, also today is September 11th. I remember where, you guys obviously weren't alive, but those of us here who are alive, I remember I was davening Shacharis, and we were in the Bronx, and we heard all these these fire engines. In one moment, everything changed. So that's what it is when you work your whole life for something. But the key word here is maher. It can very quickly, easily be destroyed. Maher. That's the key. Also, like when Moshe went up the mountain, how long did it take him to go up? How long did it take him to go up the mountain, Noam? It's not a trick question. How long was Moshe on the mountain for?
How long? 40 days,
40 days and 40 nights. You knew that, right?
Yeah.
But then how long did it take him to go down? God says go down quickly. Meaning it takes you 40 days to go up, and it's over in a second. So that's why we always have to be on guard against everything. Because when the curses come, they destroy us right away. It's just sad reality of life. One time, I'll give you one more story about this. And I was maybe like 23 years old, and 24, and I started becoming an assistant rabbi to my teacher, Rabbi Avi Weiss. And I was driving with him, and I said, oh, that's one of the lessons that I'm learning in the rabbinate, and it could all be over tomorrow. And he said, Shmuel, the lesson of the rabbinate is that it could all be over today, not tomorrow. And that's a lesson, unfortunately, I saw.
Was there something triggered that you made that comment?
I don't know. I don't remember what triggered it, but because it was over 25 years ago, but I remember his response. I don't remember, sometimes 25 years ago, you don't remember the whole conversation. You remember responses, you remember certain moments in life. You don't remember days. As I'm going to be 51, God willing, in October. I don't remember days, but I remember moments. That's why when you have an opportunity to make a moment, don't miss out on that opportunity, because we don't remember days, we remember moments.
Well, it made you think a different way, because immediate,
Exactly. It made me think that way, for sure. And since we're talking about 9/11, I'll tell everybody that I went down on September 12th. I went down to ground zero with Rabbi Weiss. So nobody was really allowed to go in there because it was a time of everything was closed off, but we were clergy. So they let us in, and we were going around hugging the firefighters, the construction workers, the first responders. Everybody was just in total shock. And the whole area was covered with this dust. Like my shoes that I wore down there were ruined forever. With the dust, I didn't realize then, but obviously I realized soon after that. What was the dust? It was pulverized human beings. And it was all over the place. And that's what we were like walking amongst, this devastation. And then we were walking there, And it was on TV, like they were filming everything, so we were on TV, obviously, like a lot of people. And all of a sudden, somebody said, the building is buckling. And there was 7 World Trade Center there, which was buckling, and everybody just started to run. And it was a very scary moment, but anyway, I'll never forget walking down on September 12th on Ground Zero.
A lot of people got sick.
Yeah, but they spend a lot more time than there. I was just there for like,
Now.
and I'm in an hour for a day. But I was just there for a day. But those people were there every day, sifting through the debris to find the bodies, whatever, to identify them. It was it was a very crazy time. I remember those days. I mean, in Washington also, but in it was intense, but because of the Pentagon. But in New York, there were a lot of people who we knew who were killed. I mean, there was more than 2,500 people killed there. So it was a very scary time, obviously. Okay, I don't know how we got on this. Well, today's 9/11.
Curses, yeah.
The curses, exactly. Okay, so, well, Ayal at Eitan, Baruch Hashem. Okay, so it says, Yad Beik Hashem B'cha Tadaver. We're up to chapter 28, verse 21. What page are we on?
1105.
1105. Yad Beik Hashem B'cha Tadaver. God should attach the plague to you. Ad kaloto, until it consumes you. Ad kaloto otcha me'al adama asher tavashem orishta. God will attach a plague to you until it destroys you. Yakucha Hashem b'shachefes. God will strike you with wasting away, ubekadachas, with a fever, uvedalakes, with a fiery fever, ubecharchor, with parching, uvachar, with sword, uvashidafon, uvayerakon. These are different types of like wind blasts. Or dafucha out of the, he will pursue you until he destroys you. What are all these things? So you'll be wasting away. V'shachefes shebsaron nishchaf. His flesh will wear away. Hadachas was with a fever. Rashi says this is eish shachol, the fever of sick. Dalekes is a fiery fever. Chama yoter mikadachas, a fever hotter. It's even hotter. Charchor is parching. This is an illness that heats up inside the body. Machar is a sword. Yavi alecha gaisos. He will bring invading armies. Ubashidafon birakon. This is a attack on the crops of the fields. Shidafon is the eastern wind, and Yerakon is the withering, the yovesh, the drying out. Okay, ad avadecha, until you are destroyed. Until you are destroyed. Targum ad tevad, until you are destroyed. Komar ad avod otcha shetecha me'elecha, until you're destroyed, until you're annihilated on your own. And then the next pasuk says, "Vayushamecha asher roshcha." The heavens that are on your heads will be nechosha, will be copper, and the land that's underneath you will be iron. What does that mean? What does it mean that the heaven on your heads will be copper? What do you think that means? No, right? What does that mean that the heaven will be copper? Take a guess. What do you think it means? What does it mean if somebody says the heavens will be copper? Your Rashi says that the heavens will not sweat. Well, the earlier verse, and there's 2 curses. In the earlier one, it says that the heavens will be like iron, and the land will like copper. Which is worse? Which is worse? Is that the heaven will be like iron, or the heaven will be like copper? Which is worse? Who says iron is worse? And who says copper is worse? So Rashi says that since copper sweats and iron doesn't sweat, the first curses said in Leviticus were worse. And these curses, which Moshe Rabbeinu was saying, he went softer on them. So therefore, Moshe was milder. Because iron implies it doesn't even sweat. There's not even any dew coming out from the sky. Yeah, I just wanted, before we stop in that minute, I want to just encourage everybody the following, that first of all,